Welcome to the Lair, a place where interesting people you may know tell you things you didn't. So grab a chair and your favorite vice and get comfortable. There are no rules in the Lair, but there is Laura Babcock. You know her from TV, and she is not into media monogamy. Let's find out who else is in the Lair.
Sensitive subject, right?
Welcome to the Laircast.
Yeah.
We have with us, guys, yo. Sorry, we got a rowdy bunch in here because we just finished a Laircast with Keenan Loomis, the head of the Chamber of Commerce, and we got into a lot of stuff, eh, Lauren? Lauren, you accused him of being a socialist, man-meat socialist.
Accused nothing.
A socialist man-meat, something off the top there. And not only did you respond to that, but we got into a pretty good conversation about the vision for the city going forward and his very cool history. So Keenan remains in the room, as does Richard Allen from Renew Hamilton and many other things, of course, and Justin from Yes We Can, and Dave, who we'll talk to in a few minutes, from Dish Crawl, and Rob. And we have sitting with us the producers of a video that, and I have to say, kind of stopped the clock for a couple minutes in Hamilton, which is a pretty big feat, gentlemen. If you didn't see the video, I would play the audio. I thought about it, playing the audio, but
It doesn't do it justice.
It doesn't, because when I heard the audio played on Scott Thompson's show, I thought it sucked.
It does stand on its own.
Yeah.
It does.
But
The
not in a
words
good-
themselves,
but
but
not in a good way, right? So
it doesn't do it justice.
no,
It is a video.
because the audio of it was kind of like, ew, with the ambitious city tag at the end. I thought, really?
CHML. It
Yeah.
sounded douchey without the imagery.
like it's douche. So that being
really know
said,
what
though,
city they're talking about
Right.
either.
but this is a video medium, right? It wasn't meant to be heard as an audio track. And when you put the audio with the visuals, it is really fantastic.
Well, thank you.
I don't say that lightly, as you know. I thought that, so I was on a lunch break or something. I checked Twitter and I'm like, what's all this stuff coming up? Because I didn't get to the chamber thing in the morning with the city manager. And so I'm like, oh, they unveiled this video, and I've seen so many cheesy Hamilton videos. I probably produced a couple of them. I'm like, oh, God. And then I'm like, what is all this uptake on this video? And so then Scott Thompson aired the audio, and I thought, really, the best we can come up with is some disjointed thoughts and an old tagline. And I tweeted as much, I think. And then Scott sent me the link, because I couldn't find it on YouTube. And I looked at it, and I was instantly moved. Because of who you picked to represent Hamilton, if you could have found an icon for the city, you found it in that person. I don't know who they are, actor, real Hamiltonian, we'll get to all that. But that person and the way that he delivered the lines and the intensity was really powerful. And, you know, my kids loved the chair being smashed at the beginning. You knew this was not going to be an easy video, right? There was violence right on the first frame. And, but, you know, my husband, who's a longtime broadcaster, said, holy shit, what is this? I have goosebumps watching it on the O Show. And that's how we all felt, right, Rob? But, like, we never say that about things, right? We're fairly cynical.
I'm just waiting for Lauren to say that.
Yeah.
Right, but Lauren did
Hasn't
on the O
happened
Show.
yet.
He has some concerns with the marketing potential of it, or its impact on who your target
And
market
I'm
is.
sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, for sure. But all I'm saying, guys, is that, you know, I've never invited anyone into the Laircast because they produced a video before, ever. But because the video took a controversial issue that's dogged this city forever, which is, how do we define ourselves? And you pulled out the one tagline that everyone used to love, but you made it relevant for people like me who thought it was old and done. You made it cool again, and I think that's really huge. So the video is Ambitious City. If you're listening to us right now, put us on pause, go on YouTube, look at it, then you'll get what we're talking about. So, like, tell me from the start, how did you guys approach the project? How did you pick that, resuscitate that old tagline? Like, give me the background on all this. Either one of you, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I mean, well, we were hired by the Hamilton Economic Development Office to create a lure video for the city. Neither of us really knew what a lure video was. I don't know if we still do.
Lauren is wondering what it's.
But, you know, at the very least...
I know a hooer video, but...
Wow, we went there already. Wow.
These guys
Didn't
are
take
saying to
long.
me after Keenan, so like, if he doesn't make at least one erection kind of reference, we're going to feel like we didn't succeed in this interview.
You threw out a semi
Yeah.
in the last taping.
Had me at
We're
semi.
going for a
We're going
full-on
for a
erection
full
here.
one,
We're going
eh?
for the full-on.
Gentlemen, it won't be
So
hard to get that.
some people give you 5 stars. I guess Lauren, you know, rates you.
Oh God.
On degrees.
on degrees of erection.
I don't
So.
want to think about Lauren's erections any more than I always have to hear about them. Okay.
So anyway, we were
So
hired
tell me,
by,
yeah.
Hamilton Economic Development Office to create this lure video.
Who at ECDEV, may I ask?
Mike
Norm-
Marini was our contact there. He's the marketing coordinator.
Obviously, Mike's the only one who would call it a lure video.
Yeah.
Come on.
It was
Clearly
his
the
big
next
dream.
generation of
But-
actors. Do you think that Neil Everson would say a lure video? Really? No, you don't.
Now, and
So-
Mike had been dreaming up this lure video for a number of years. It had somewhat been his pet project. And what he wanted to showcase the city without using happy, smiling faces.
Happy, shiny
Right.
people.
Happy, shining people.
And the-
Those were his direct
the live-
words.
oh, 'cause the
That was
last
about
video-
all the direction we got.
Yeah, but
And
the
that,
last video
it
10
really
years
was
ago.
all the direction we got.
Did you see the last chamber morning breakfast I went to in the time of Bob Wade, believe it or not, as mayor years ago? They released this video, and it was literally little kids dancing in a daisy field. So I think that might
Because
be part
Hamilton's
of
the
his.
best place to raise a child, right?
Right. And I think that might be part of his reference, right? That video was live, grow, bloom, shine. It was terrible. So
And all
I
of 500 people watched it?
not even. There was like 200 people in the chambers dining
Yeah.
room. Yeah, 200 people at best, and we couldn't get through it. Anyway,
So,
yeah, way before YouTube, before videos had to actually be interesting.
So, I mean, we have to give credit to Mike and to, the city. They wanted to do something different.
They
And the
did
direction we
lure
wanted was, we don't want to do what we've done in the past. We want to try something completely different. And, I mean, that's essentially why we got the contract, is because, our forte, although we do a lot of corporate videos, we are incredibly creative, and we prefer to do something that's more cinematic
Yeah.
than something that's, boring.
Maybe
This is
Puts
more
you
of
to
a
sleep.
question for Mike Marini, but a lure video to lure who or what
Well, that's
would
the
be
question,
the...
right? Rob doesn't think this is going to get a businessman from Kyoto to come to Hamilton.
No.
I don't think that the video actually did what they wanted it to do, but I think it's doing something different for them, which is also good. I think
I
it's.
love the honesty.
I think what they wanted was a video that they could go, like the mayor can go to, different meetings that he has all over Ontario or Canada or whatever, and show them like this is what's happening in Hamilton right now, because they go.
Are readily available
Exactly.
green fields
So-
at a
There
taxable
was
rate
not a single
competitive with...
waterfall in this
No,
video.
I think that's what they wanted in a
lure.
lure video, but they wanted it in a cinematic way. And even when we pitched them on the idea of what we, not yet.
He's in trouble
So
now, right?
yeah, hopefully this doesn't broadcast for another 2 weeks or so.
I'm
but
tweeting it
anyways.
right now. We failed at delivering to ACTA.
So
No, but I think you make a valid point, though.
Yeah.
If this is what they're going to use to pitch big business,
Right.
I don't think it doesn't have a place in that.
Right.
But it's going to appeal to, the man and the woman and the human, and not necessarily the corporation. But at the same time, it gets the conversation started,
Okay,
and it allows them to pitch their other videos.
Or is it this? Okay, so I'm not saying it's not that, but I love your honesty, that it is not your typical, here are our assets for development, here are our lures per se for a white collar employee who might want to come to a city. You didn't show Theatre Aquarius or Waterfalls or any of the rest of it. What if it is Hamilton's version of the I Am Canadian video that was done?
That's entirely what it is.
But I mean, what if that's all it is? And is that not a huge achievement? You got everyone in Hamilton to go, holy crap, they're right, we are.
Hamilton too. Like if you read the comments on YouTube, it's a lot of people like, oh, I'm living overseas now, but I spent 2 years in Hamilton, and like this is like a totally different perception of what I remember it to be. Like it's changing kind of everybody's
But
perception.
you,
not just,
you didn't focus on, like, I would say 80% of the city's assets.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't focus really on the arts. You didn't focus on the natural stuff, the waterfalls.
Well, and I think that brings us back to what is our greatest asset.
Well, you focused on your history, the history of innovation and ambition.
Mm-hmm.
You focused on healthcare and
No,
innovation
the
currently.
primary focus of that video is what we are not.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority of the content is taking away
And that was
preconceived
the other.
notions.
So we got two pieces of direction. One was we can't use happy, shining, smiley people,
Right.
and the other one was
Sorry, Keenan, you weren't in the video. You totally
let's
don't fit
let's maybe try to, if it's not too controversial and too uncomfortable, address the stigma that's attached to
You
Hamilton.
did. You hit it right in the face. You said, you pretty much had the guy with the lunch bucket saying, yeah, you think I'm just the lunch bucket city, F you, which is the tone of the video. The tone was F you.
I'm not Brantford.
Right. I'm not just a telephone city,
No, it
and I'm not
wasn't
just a
really
whatever
like
city.
I'm not
Hey,
Brantford. It was
Joey.
more like I'm not Vancouver.
See,
I'm
he's
not
not
Toronto.
Just here in spirit,
That was like
guys.
what it's
Coleman
like.
has
So, I mean,
arrived.
it's like there's a saying in the States. It's like LA is this, and New York is that, and Detroit works. And it was kind of like, we're not Detroit, and like hate to use that reference, but it's like Hamilton is a city that's successful because of the hardworking people that live in Hamilton.
Well, it was interesting to me because one of the lines, and it wasn't even grammatically, didn't seem correct, but it made a point, which was, people ascribe our success to one single thing or our ambition to one single end. Mm-hmm. But it kind of made it like, it's again, going back to what we said off the top, you had to see it, you couldn't hear it. To hear it it was kind of disjointed. To see it, it made total sense. And it's somebody saying, we're proud of everything that we've done. We are gritty and tough and ambitious and industrious. Yes, we have some innovation, and yes, we have some healthcare. But at the end of the day, the whole thing was almost gritty toned, right? And it was so full of this, and this is what we were talking about in the interview with Keenan when I said, we're not Sudbury. There's something so powerful about Hamilton, where it has been, what it stands for, what it can do going forward. And you guys captured that. The guy seemed powerful, powerfully proud, powerfully unapologetic.
Our challenge too was how diverse our audience was.
Right, because the
right?
film's got no diversity in it.
We've got
Right.
corporations, big business that we have to appeal to.
Right.
We've got people that currently don't reside in Hamilton that the city would like to attract to move to Hamilton.
Brayley and Juravinski
And we've got
pay for it?
and we've got Hamiltonians themselves that we want to obviously be behind.
But did Brayley and Juravinski pay for the video?
No.
Okay. I had to ask, because
The city
they're the only two that
The
got
city of
props.
Hamilton, Maple Leaf
Wasn't-
didn't either.
Maple Leaf, right?
That was ActDev saying we need Maple Leaf in there.
Because Maple Leaf represented a turning point in the city where we attracted a new
So
industry.
here's the seminal point that you made on television last
I
week.
made a seminal point. Thanks, Lawrence. First time you've
Absolutely.
admitted such.
At- Every
Just
week, all the
kidding.
time.
I know.
I'm your
Kidding.
biggest fan, Laura.
Not my biggest. But
No,
you
no,
can
no.
line up. It's all
There's a few people on Twitter that kick the snot out of me, but that's fine. That Laura's point was, if we are going to dig up the ambitious city tagline again. So we've been the city of many communities, the city of waterfalls, the city of miscellaneous horseshit, fill in the blank here. That's a great video. Are we actually going to pounce on that? And that's not a question for you guys as much as it is a question for
But they pounced on my
Marini.
suggestion on Twitter about that, right? I said, okay, because that little time for sign thing where I'm trying to actually get gateway signage to welcome people to our city.
It needs
But-
some sort of
But I said in front of
tagline.
council. But I said in front of council. They all said, well, what do you want it to say? And I said, I
Not
don't-
Brantford.
No, but what I said was, I don't want to make that determination as a branding expert. Sure, I want to, but I
But that's a
didn't.
big
But I
decision.
wanted the city council to be integrated with their own ECDEV department. In other words, whatever is working for ECDEV should be on those signs. Not what I like, not what they put in amalgamation, not what's on that one sign out in the highway. My point is.
I think it also has to speak to Hamiltonians.
No, but
though.
it does. So all I'm saying is I said to council when I spoke to them, I'm not going to tell you what should go on that sign, no matter how much you push me to, because that's not what this is about. But when you guys brought up the Ambitious City video, I said on Twitter, okay, for the first time, I'll weigh in on what should be on those signs. If this is
Lock it
then
in.
let's lock it in. Let's integrate it. Let's stop having
With a
16
logo
messages.
of bridges with waterfalls beside it.
Yeah, but
and
I don't care about it. All I'm saying is that, like, my best tagline before this video came up was the one that came out of mixed media, right? Ambitious, delicious, and what was it? Industrious, ambitious, and delicious. It had the ambitious thing in there. It just tried to expand it to some of our other offerings. But I still didn't want to give that to council. But when I saw this video, I thought, okay, wait a second. If you guys have taken that most favored tagline and you've made it real and something we can understand progressively going forward, then let's just lock, load, and stamp it on everything and be over our identity crisis. I can back it up. You guys made me want to back it up.
What's interesting about that nickname too, and we'll call it a nickname, but like you don't give yourself a nickname. So like City Hall can sit there and sit for hours and days and months and try and figure out what's a nickname that describes us. But that
There's
nickname
no
was
validity to a nickname.
yeah.
that you
If you
yourself.
give it to your like
No,
that
but wait a
nickname was
second.
given us.
Have you ever listened to Toronto media refer to us as the
Right.
ambitious city?
No, but that's where it
let's
came
actually
from.
Go back. 1847.
That's where it
Toronto
came from.
Globe gave us the nickname the ambitious little city.
Fair enough.
They did.
I'm not-
Then Robert Smiley
No, it's
from the
fair.
Hamilton
That's a-
Spectator said, you know what? You intended that to be a diss.
They did, yes.
Let's own it.
Right.
Let's own it. Like any nickname is.
But that died.
You own a nickname.
But
A
you-
nickname's given to you by someone else, but you own it.
Fair enough.
But to your point, when
We're
I
not
did the
little.
Jim, when I did the Jim Richards
We are
show,
the
right?
ambitious city.
Right.
No, we were.
We are
We aspire to
Jump
be.
on
and
in,
will
Joey.
forever be.
I got to
The
jump in on
ambitious
this one.
city.
And then, like, you
was
got to
waiting
throw your
for you to
arms
show
up.
up,
What
actually.
do they call us? The comeback?
Okay, but
city?
here's
I
the
love
thing
it.
with the ambitious city now. There was a time where we could list off the firsts in Canada that we were doing. We could list off the initiatives that were leading the country.
We did the call that set the world
And
on fire.
I
saw
wish
the video.
I want us to be the ambitious city again, but I sit at City Hall every day. And right now, ambition is painting lines on the roads.
And the great thing
crosswalks.
is, you know,
And so
city
the-
councilors are a handful of people in this city. Let's make a tagline and let's brand our city not based off of a couple people that sit around a table, but our entire population. Joey, what
But
are you doing?
I'm-
You are pushing for open data in the city. That is ambitious.
confuse
Everybody in this
ambition
room is
with
doing something ambitious. Everybody in this room. Granted, maybe not Lauren.
Oh, Lauren's very ambitious. Lauren runs the bit. Lauren runs
There is
the
not a
biggest
single person in this room, though, and I know that's why you're in the
I-
room.
I know,
it's
but
because
I'm-
you're doing something ambitious.
But I'm going to throw at you is that any city could be the ambitious city. I don't think any city could
you're
say
right.
they're the city of waterfalls, and that would be why I would weigh towards city of waterfalls as being more
it doesn't
unique.
say anything about our people, though. And our people are our strongest asset.
Well argued, and I agree with you. I wanted to put
City
that
of
out there
Waterfalls
have
is not
that
gonna attract
argument,
a
but
single business
The
here.
question is now how do we actually fulfill that ambitious part? How do we change back to being the ambitious city?
We don't need to change back to being it. We have always been. Ambition is stepping up in the face of adversity. Is there adversity now? Yes. Was there adversity 10 years ago? Yes. 20 years ago? Yes. There has always been adversity, and we've always stepped up to the plate.
So
We are the ambitious
So
city.
here's one of my challenges. But here's one of my challenges.
And
But you know what? Here's my challenge. My concern with ambition is that it always sounds like you're not achieving. It sounds like you're always in the wanting, always in the trying, and I'm not. I'm all
Maybe
for
not.
that.
And,
Hold on.
I think I'm going to go
Hold
back
on.
to what you said on this
Right,
show,
right.
and you looked
Thanks
up the
for watching.
definition of it. And can
Yeah.
you say what the definition was
Well, it's
for
about
us all?
having momentum, which to me says that you're in a perpetual state of you can. It doesn't say that you're not at success, but you can be in
And I
success
think
and
if you
continue.
look at any successful big
Right.
business,
Right.
I don't think anyone will say that they, achieve success by being complacent,
But
by
here's-
saying, we
here's
are
why the
successful, so let's stop striving for
Right.
something greater.
So
You
I-
become great
Of course.
by striving for something
Right.
greater.
And someone who I am successful and I'm still ambitious, so I get that. But here's why your video worked for me, because I've been a detractor of resuscitating that old tagline, which seemed to me to be always the number 2 tagline, right? They're the successful city, but we're the ambitious ones, yay! I didn't like it for that reason. But in the video, what you were able to do, and this is why people have to see it, is that there was nothing about the guy who became the personification of Hamilton that was in any way defeated or failed or number 2. He exuded such pride, right? That's what gave everybody the goosebumps, that he made ambition sound like not only noble, but it was in no way counterintuitive to success.
And it's also not cocky.
No, and it wasn't cocky.
There's,
But
this
But that
aura
guy
of
did it. But can we
humbleness.
carry that on?
You can
right?
be humble
Yeah.
and strive for more at the same
Right.
time.
So it didn't make us look like losers or second place. He made it sound like a very noble and proud history and future for the city. So but the point Lauren and I were making on the show the other day is that if we're to, how does the video? Let me challenge you. How does the guy in the video, because the guy from the I Am Canadian ads became a celebrity of his own right? He did other ads after that. Yeah, sure. Yeah, very funny.
Yeah.
But okay, my point is, how do we, without that guy espousing that tagline in a way that made sense in terms of pride and ambition, how does the tagline live up to what you believe it to mean and what I saw it in that guy? Otherwise, it could possibly sound like, after 150 years, the best we can do is to truck out an old favorite that makes us sound like we're never going to get there. And I think that we're going to get there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how does the
Okay,
video
but let's-
embody the tagline?
Let's break that down. Where is there?
That's a good question. It's there that Keenan was talking about in the last Laircast, right? It's a city where we're not making apologies. We're not in the shadow of greatness. We have our shit together. We have a livable community. We're progressive. Our politicians have caught up with this millennium. Everybody is feeling not perfectly happy, but seriously
there will never
engaged.
be a municipality without issues.
Of course not. That would be boring. I would move. I used to work in one called Oakville. I
So you-
sleep at my desk every day. Seriously.
I would rather live in a municipality in a city that understands that it has issues and it's willing to face them head on and strive for something greater than a municipality that's ignorant and says we have no
I
issues.
bet you're the first corporate video for a city that ever starts with an act of violence. Like, think about it. Has there ever been, like in the history of time, Keenan, throw your mind to the big league where you used to hang out. Can you think, anyone in this room, of a video for a city that starts off with the smashing of a piece of equipment, right? And then a kicking of a chair. I mean, the video had in it this sense of rage. There was rage in the video, a rage that every Hamiltonian who's ever been put down or disappointed or has felt. Right.
The hard hat wearing guy. He's not arrogant. He's got a chip on his shoulder, and he might even be
Rightly so.
he might even be a little defensive. Hence his explanation on who he isn't. He being Hamilton,
Sure, it
that
was taken
is.
from the negative. Yeah.
So hence that's where the anger comes from. He's got the chip on his shoulder
my
to
point
begin
is-
with.
Yeah, we didn't want it to come across as too angry. We actually had to scale it back a little bit. A few of the takes were too angry.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, we want people to like the
You have to be relatable. You have to be relatable.
we wanted it to be. It was
Laura's
a very,
kids are going to see this.
It was a very fine line about where we scale it. It's like, okay, that's too fluffy and that's too angry. Like it was.
So here's what I'm saying, right? Is that I think everyone connected with that what you guys achieved, which is why we wanted to talk to you, because that's a big thing to do. It's a great thing to do. You managed to create you managed to personify a city's identity in 2 minutes in a way that made even the biggest cynics among us go, wow, that's good. So that being said, if we're to integrate the tagline and just say, let's just own this shit, it's good, they've made it real, it can work for us, it fits in, everyone galvanizes towards it, how do we, the question is, how do we not make it lame? And how do we translate that energy from the video into these other efforts for the city? And I know it's not your job to do that, but I'm interested.
It might be overthinking a little bit too much, and I think like personally, like I wasn't born here. You weren't born here. A lot of the people that I constantly meet that live here now weren't born here, but they choose to live in Hamilton, and I think that's really interesting. And there's like something that appealed to them.
Our video. You have no right.
I'm more in love with this city than where I was born,
Yeah,
so
me too. Well,
so it's
Toronto?
from Toronto.
Yeah, me too. I was born in Toronto.
Regina,
And I think Montreal,
represent.
which I love. Yeah, Regina. So you're another import. See, so let me ask you this question: the head of the Chamber of Commerce, the recently head of the airport, the head of like Gazada in this city are all imports. Why is that?
Well, so for me, I can't really speak for them. I mean, I might know a little bit about their story, but for me personally, it's where I grew up. I could work my ass off and it wouldn't be appreciated. Literally, I moved to Hamilton against my will, essentially. Like I came here for a contract for work, and I intended to stay for 8 to 12 months, and then I was going to be out of here.
Right.
But when I came here and I saw that, I was doing extracurricular activity that I was putting a lot of energy into, and I saw a great reward from it. And it's like, this is a city that rewards people that work hard, and that's not always true.
There's something very important to pick up on, and I'm not picking on you on that. An artist from Toronto who comes to Hamilton because he wasn't kicking ass in Toronto and had an opportunity here.
You can be a big fish in a medium pond.
No, but that's
wasn't a big fish.
No, but I'm saying here you can.
you were an irrelevant fish in a giant pond.
Yeah, right. You
and
can
then
hear you
you
can
were
be
in
a
a
relevant
small
fish.
pond where you had a chance.
Right. But we're not
Fair?
Sudbury. Sudbury is a small pond. We're a medium pond. I'm just saying.
Sudbury's a puddle of piss.
I totally know what you're saying, though. I totally get.
No, but we've got this notion that we are bringing in artists. We're
Sudbury is a
not.
puddle of
Bringing
piss.
in
That's a quote of the night.
Overly successful,
Cold
kick-ass
piss.
artists. We are
But at the same
an
time,
affordable
Christophe,
opportunity.
what contract
place.
did you move here for?
It was for a construction contract. It wasn't for art-related contract.
Fair.
But you could pursue your passion
Right.
Great.
here.
Even
Right.
better.
Right. So
And that's what Hamilton offers, opportunity.
It does.
If you are ambitious and you have an idea
right.
and you're innovative, you can achieve it here in our city.
So given
And that's the
right.
picture that we're showing
And you-
through
and
this
you-
video
and you did.
to everyone who lives outside of Hamilton.
But
You know,
more-
in the States,
Right.
there was the American dream.
Right.
We now have the Hamilton dream.
Right.
You
The
have a
American
dream,
dream
you
is
can
dead.
succeed,
Yeah,
and you
so-
can see it come to life here in Hamilton.
So, but you did it, as we've all identified here, in a very rage-based, in a way. You controlled the rage, but it was evident. But rage to pride, not apologetic. There, it was positioned in the negative voice. You're basically saying, "I'm not this. Fuck you. I'm not this. Fuck you. I'm not this. Fuck you. I am this. And I'm damn proud." Which we all resonated with. It was great. And I don't mean to simplify your video, but I'm saying that was the tone of it, right?
Yeah.
So it might not be the Kyoto businessman going, "Ooh, it looks like they have green space or brown space," but it did do something for us, and it goes to, we talked about, let's just integrate the damn thing and move from there. But let me ask you this question. How do you feel if Hamilton does not, because of, let's say, political obstacles, get anywhere near that realization of that potential and that ambition? Because the number one complaint that I hear, and Graham Crawford, our friend, said it very well in the TIP documentary, right? He said, we're tipping on this, we're tipping on that, but we're still held back politically. Mm-hmm. And there's a very real possibility that we will see. I mean, Hamilton Civic League just said that 20% of their respondents already are saying they're going to vote for all incumbents, on the survey they're doing right now. I mean, the chances are we're going to have the same political leadership that we've had. So how does that make you feel, given that you're so passionate, as newcomers to Hamilton, relatively speaking, with the potential we could have? Like, does that piss you off?
Personally, I think what was interesting about Hamilton is that we kind of are succeeding, and I maybe shouldn't go on the record as saying this, but despite City Hall.
In spite of it.
So, City Hall is doing one thing, and then, there's a lot of grassroots movements that are happening that are, causing other things to happen. So it's just a matter of, I think, City Hall will eventually, nothing happens overnight, and, municipalities are used to running a certain way, and they're probably not used to, having as much input as you have from the engaged citizens of Hamilton. So I think it's just a matter of, over time, they're going to realize that they're driving backwards if they're not working with those people that are literally going out of their way to take a stand on.
Years, some of them have been in their jobs, and 15 years.
So they'll be out in 5 years.
But they won't.
Yeah, but
they won't.
Municipality where four fuckers like us sit around microphones and go, "We love our city hall. Our mayor kicks ass," and
there's nowhere.
It doesn't exist.
Well, first of all, show me the municipality that has a show like this, where four fuckers sit around and do this
true.
at all, right?
Here's
Which is a
what's wrong with-
Hamilton thing.
Here's what's wrong with their video. Overarching beyond anything else. First of all, its only actor in it is a penis bearer.
Who's
When the
white, right?
White, male.
I saw this one coming, so yeah.
That is not the Hamilton I know.
He's being facetious. obviously.
No, I know.
I'm not doing it in
He's
the
perfectly
accent
happy
of
with
which
your
I.
video. Yeah. He was about to Ellen Meyer's accent. You were you liar.
And you know what? We wanted to use...
That guy's actually transgendered, so just so you know.
Is he really?
No, I'm just joking.
Oh.
But that would have been.
Edit
Can you
out the
imagine?
just joking part and- What's his name?
No, sorry, you were going so serious.
But honestly, what you see in the video is just, half of it. The other half is the process behind the video and who is involved in creating it.
Right.
And Christophe and I are here, but we used only local talent
Which is great.
to make that video.
Because nobody else could have
They-
sold that.
Everyone involved in the process had a Hamilton connection.
That's great.
So we approached the slam poetry community in Hamilton and said,
Really? Is
who's
that
the
how you got it?
best?
Cool.
Who's the best? We want them involved in this video.
Did Nia write your script?
No, that was Tommy Buick, who was the
Yeah.
actor in it. And
But Nia-
he was recommended by everybody.
I am. I know the world
You know.
you're talking
Yeah.
You're
about.
so hip.
No, yeah.
Everyone pointed to Tommy, who is the mentor for any emerging talents in beat poetry in this city. So we said, you know what, we want the best.
And he was a
Tommy's
tough
it.
sell. When we told him we were doing a video for the city of Hamilton, he was not the first 20 minutes of the meeting with him was trying to get him to stop laughing at what we were trying to pitch him on.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? That you're trying to do a pro-city video and a slam poet is really, it's not cool enough for me.
Yeah, but we got him on board.
Well, which is awesome. But what does that tell you about the fact that, he is now probably, maybe he'll do other great things in his career. What's that? Yeah, but I'm just saying that the
No, no.
brand you were asking him to pitch, he was like, no, I'm too
I
cool.
totally expected the reaction that we got from him.
Wow.
Because I mean, I'm on the ground. I live downtown. I hang out with, like originally we thought about going to Lee Reed with this, and we were like, okay, that might be just pushing it a little bit too far to try and get him to
But
do
I
it.
love that you got someone we don't know.
But
Because we could all then identify with, right? If you've
Yeah.
got
Well, that's the
somebody
other
we
thing.
know.
We didn't want someone.
What's that?
we didn't want somebody whose face you would recognize.
Yeah, 'cause-
And that's why, granted that you can make out that he's white. The video is black and white. It's dimly lit. If you saw him on the street, I doubt you'd be able to identify him. He could walk right past you.
Right.
We did not show him in enough light for you to
But you got
clearly
an everyman.
identify
No, you got
who
an
he
everyman.
is.
He's an everyman, right?
He's a white penis.
Why does everything come back
But
to
it-
erection?
And you know what?
That is not what the new Hamilton is about.
That
Right.
wasn't even a thought for us.
That- it
if
really
we had-
wasn't.
If we had gone and gotten a black woman to do it, people would be like, oh, they purposely went out of their way to try and keep everybody happy. But we weren't worried about
But you know
that.
what I'm shocked about is that you weren't told that was what you had to do. Because so many videos I'm approached with have to be as inclusive as possible.
Granted,
and not just in Hamilton, in other cities.
We were thankfully given a lot of leeway
You were.
to push the envelope.
But what does
And
that
even
say?
even then, we stepped, out of bounds and said, you know what?
Oh, yeah.
This
They-
is what
they
we want to
weren't sold on
do.
it.
This is what we want
Right.
to do, and we will sell you on it. This is why we should do it.
Right.
Trust us. The response will be great.
So what does that say about our economic development department, Lauren, that they were allowed to have that kind of leeway?
He's young and hip and has leeway. It's a
Right.
wonderful thing.
But how did Mike get the leeway from council? That it didn't have to be all of the things that
He's got a
normally
budget.
Well, I won't- I
He's
won't
no Ron
put it
Marini
in-
yet,
not
but he's
everybody
getting
loved
there.
that video.
What's that?
Not everybody that sits in that room loved that video.
Really, eh?
In
But
fact,
there were city councilors that did.
Okay.
And they, from what I've heard, want more.
Okay.
yeah.
So, like I said, you're developing, when branding, as you said, like a nickname, you can't create it for yourself. For a brand to be energized, it has to connect, right?
Yeah.
And that's a magical process, and it's very difficult to achieve. You guys achieved it. And Lauren and I and others are saying, then let's just roll with it. And you've got counselors saying, we want more of the same. But to go back to my other question to you guys, is that, you said, well, eventually the political class will follow. No, they'll stay in their cushy jobs until they die in office.
No, yeah.
Terry Whitehead, not exactly a progressive counselor, has Facebooked and tweeted this video.
No, but I'm talking about running the city in a
But
way
it-
that
no,
this,
but it
this
gets-
video tries to
we,
get towards.
We have politicians who will go where the votes are.
Right?
They are career politicians. They are career politicians.
Actually, yes.
They will go.
Politicians are not anti-progress, they're pro-vote.
Yeah.
Right.
Until the votes are with progress, they're going to stay where they are. Look at the King Street
Well
bike
said,
lane,
Joey
bus
Coleman.
lane.
Exactly.
Look at the bus lane.
And
The
that-
reason why councillors are all of a sudden saying they're concerned about it is because that's what they're hearing. But months ago, when they voted for it, they were hailing each other the typical back patting of look how progressive we are. Right. Our councillors are not anti-idea; they're just pro-vote. Now, I wanted to jump in earlier, but the discussion was good. The other thing is we were focusing too much upon this idea of council incumbent, but we're not looking at the idea of how do we change the dynamic of council? Because I get accused of being anti-incumbent all the time. I quite enjoy it because I think
you
that's
are.
funny. But what it is when I look at the council, I go, we don't necessarily need to throw them all out. We need to figure out how to change the dynamic. We need to change the conversation. And see, we're falling into this idea of the 2014 election is newcomer versus incumbent, outsider
Bob
versus
Bertina will
inside.
become mayor again unless there's an act of God that stops it. Because from everything that I hear on the ground, whether I like it or not, incumbency is powerful. He can sit on the success of the city, whether people
Can't.
think he's attributing.
He cannot.
But yes,
cannot.
but
He will,
Laura,
he
He
will.
cannot claim.
Laura,
But he will.
You, I, and Lauren have the advantage of being around in 1997 when we saw a partial change of council, and everybody went into 97 with the same idea that the incumbents were firmly entrenched. And then you had in 3 wards where you had change, and it was the result of the discussion
So
changing.
Ferguson McCaddy will probably run for mayor. That'll open up 2 wards. Morelli, God forbid his health doesn't let him continue, but it might not. So we've got 3 wards open, and Powers might move on. So there's potential for 4 seats there. But my point is, can you tell me, Joey, that you don't think Bertina's going to come back in unless something major happens, because the more crowded the field, the more the incumbent advantage. And he can say, whether it's true or not, Michael, he can say, is the city better off than it was 4 years ago? And nobody can say no to that. And then he'll say, and then by extension,
Here's the
look
thing.
what a good
We're
mayor I am.
focusing again on the individual, and I don't want to do that. I want to focus
Yeah,
on
but
issues.
that's reality. That's reality, Joey. The
But I want to
individuals
focus
matter.
on issues and discussion where you're going to have the opportunity for new faces to come up. And if they run smart campaigns with good ideas and capture the public imagination, they can slide right up the middle, because we're seeing that time and time
No.
again.
Fuck that, Joe, and
I
here's
wish.
why. We
I wish.
moderated all the debates.
Right.
And in spite of the douchebaggery of the majority of incumbency, thank God those fuckers won, compared to the retards that ran against them.
Yes. But
And pardon my language, but the
were you
level of
were you
idiot
listening to me?
that
'Cause I
runs for
just
council
said
in this city.
there is an opportunity for a good
You
candidate.
think it's going to be different this time? Joe Idiot, who slaps down his $55, thinks he should be council and garners the fucking 14 votes he deserves.
Yes.
And thank God that the same asshole has been there for 25 years at least, can moderately steer the ship on the same bullshit course it was.
I speak from experience that if you run a good campaign with strong ideas, you can capture a
drink?
lot of votes. Look, when I was
And,
18,
I honestly have to agree with Joey, and I don't think Hamilton 2014
Hey, you
is
can't
the
rant
same.
and leave, Lauren.
Hamilton 2014 isn't Hamilton 2010. We have seen a lot of progress in spite of city council, in spite of our mayor, who cannot claim credit for any of the progress that we've seen over the last 4 years.
He can, but it might not be justified.
He can
but
claim it, but
claim
it's
Okay.
not justified. Yeah.
Right. So, but who's listening to what message when is the question. They're listening to the messages in the last 48 hours
which
before the
is-
election.
So in 2000, I'm
Right.
18. I run for school board trustee. I spend $350. That's all I had to spend
Mm-hmm.
against two other candidates who each spent over $7,000.
Right.
I came out with 23% of the vote.
Right.
And the reason why was because I ran a platform of ideas. And the nerve of me at 18, my slogan was experience that counts, because I had sat on school board committees, and I had one of my opponents go on about my inexperience in life. And I said, yeah, I'm 18. I'm not as experienced as you in life, and I grant you that. But you've never sat on a school board committee. That's why I say I have experience that counts. And you're going to find, I found people going, wow, this guy's got a platform that was straightforward, simple, and achievable, and knocking door to door. The problem is that a lot of our candidates have decided to run for election and go to the debates
So, Joey,
believing
let me
that's the
ask you
case.
this question, okay? Honestly, let me ask you this question. How many candidates have you successfully placed on Hamilton Council as their campaign manager?
Me, zero.
Now,
because
ask
that's
Lauren
not my-
Lieberman how many candidates he successfully placed on Hamilton Council.
Okay,
And
but
his
I
number.
honestly think
So
we're
my
at- I
point
honestly
is.
think we're at a tipping
Yes.
point, and
Okay,
part of
But
it,
how
part
many
of
of-
it,
Somebody's
and
right.
Lauren,
I'm gonna
and
do
Lauren
this.
will be the
How many of
first
them
to-
were just radio hosts?
No, my point is he's got them in, and you don't even know about.
But
others
they
he's
would have got
run.
in anyway on name recognition.
But what
I
I'm
honestly
saying, Joey, is
think
he
we
knows
are
what
at
he's
a
talking
tipping
about.
point,
I don't
though.
agree with. I don't like what he's saying, but he's right.
I honestly think we're at a tipping point.
Okay.
And in the past, politicians can get elected because they can pull on old money. And I think, one, there's new money. And I think we're at a tipping point where a 25-year-old like myself, I will throw down $750
Right.
to support a candidate
Lauren's about to go ape shit.
that I believe is progressive because I see the return on investment. I live in Ward 3. I will donate $750 to the candidate I see,
Jeremy Freiberger to Matt Green to
the
oust Bernie
candidate that
Morelli.
I see will be the most progressive and actually
Great, go ahead.
actually
That
bring
doesn't mean
change.
It's gonna make a difference.
Get on my chair.
But this is the thing.
Let's
There's more than
meet
just
in a year
myself.
then, and we'll see what happens.
There's more than just myself.
Green can oust a healthy Bernie Morelli?
Oh, I think so.
100%.
I 100%,
Wow.
I 100% believe if we come back here in 1
Lauren,
year,
you're looking at a 25-year-old who's going to donate the maximum I can to a candidate. And I'm not alone.
This
Because
is
of the
horrible.
number-
Every cycle, we hear this shit
for
from
sure.
Okay, Lauren, let's talk about something that happened in January that would have never happened if it. Yeah, but Dialogue Partners. There was a firm that produced the same crap that we've been getting from numerous other consultants in the past, and it was.
point, but nobody politically wears that. That's my
No, it's not about politically wearing it. It's the fact that council was forced to change their tack because the initial was these guys are okay and it's just a bunch of malcontents.
You guys on social media bullied them.
No, it wasn't about that. It was about the fact that it spread wide, and people were saying, you know what,
democracy is labeled as bullying.
It's not.
But it was
it's
by
not
council.
but see, Lauren's
They were
missing the
bullied.
point.
I love it when
was the
democracy is
council
labeled
was
as
told by
bullying.
the public. Here is our expectations as the public, and council had to meet them. So what's going to happen in 2014 is that even incumbent councillors, there are a lot of really good ones, are going to be stepping up their game as well. And we're going to see some change. And it doesn't take much change. It takes momentum.
What you're saying is that even if the same council gets back in, save these 4 open seats, the idea is to raise the bar of expectation, raise more public pressure, force them into policy positions that are progressive. And I'm okay with that. That's great. But my point is, don't mistake my saying that incumbents have tremendous power and the mayor will probably get back in because I want that to happen. I'm saying it because I know guys like Lauren. I've watched the city for 20 years as a political person, and I can tell you it's probably going to happen.
Let me explain to these guys.
I agree.
That once upon a time, the year was 2010. There was
Sicily, imagine it.
right. There was this
1946.
progressive candidate. Let's call him Matt Jelly. The world got excited about a new kind of candidate. Then there was the traditional stale candidate. Let's call him Jason Farr, another retread from media. No, said 2010. We've been down this road before. Jason Farr beat Matt Jelly. How? Jason Farr beat Matt Jelly. Why?
Name recognition.
No.
And because Martinez and Matt Jelly split the progressive vote.
They
Also
totally
no.
took each other's
100%. Matt Jelly lost by how many votes? Tell me.
Dude.
How many votes? 400. How many did Martinez take? 700.
First
You
of-
have one
You're
progressive
making
candidate in the election.
First of all.
Jason Farr doesn't win. Second, Jason Farr has now become a progressive candidate.
Stop. First of all, we're talking 2010. So if you want to play the no Martinez, then all the Novak votes and all the Hess votes go to Farr. That's not it. That's not
That
the
makes
question.
no sense whatsoever.
No, there was 14 candidates. So if you want to start eliminating candidates, okay, what I'm talking about is traditional electioneering won out over the
So are you saying that
2000.
Jason Farr isn't progressive?
No, you're missing my point.
no, but that's what
entirely.
I'm saying, though.
But let's boil down Lauren's argument, and it's correct. But I think that there's also a difference. In 2010, the social media, the new independent media was very nuanced. There was only 2
Joey,
stories.
the
Please,
Spectator has never been in such a froth over a candidate as they were for Matt Jelly.
No, they weren't.
Rightfully,
They did-
wrongfully.
they did
They
two
profiled him 3 times.
They did
two
two.
stories on his fucking beard. They did everything they could to get him elected because it was so interesting. But
See,
Matt
and
Jelly
spoken-
did not have
spoken like a
enough
camp-
money or enough expertise to win the day. So you can talk your social media, you can talk your 2014
Lauren,
horseshit.
you
At
know
the
I'm
end-
actually agreeing with you here, and you're so caught up in I want to argue. Now let me say.
No more controversy.
Oh, he's gonna hug me. This is cute.
Guys, this is
Okay,
historic
but
here.
the thing is that again, the Spectator did story about Matt Jelly in the spring before he was running. Then they did 2 stories on the Ward 2 race. Story 1 was there's a lot of candidates. Story 2 was Matt Jelly got a haircut and shaved his beard. So people weren't able to be informed, but there's so many platforms now for people to get informed. And we've seen it time and time again in medium cities across the United States, where when people have the option of becoming informed and discussing the issues they do, and you result in change.
This takes me back to Hamilton 2014 is not Hamilton 2010.
And
Thank God.
if I can just
But I don't
also-
think it's quite what you think it is, unless you guys do something major to get it there. I'm not saying it's
Not
not possible.
Bertina.com.
We're 12 months and going. We're 12 months away. 12 months away. You can have a non-Bertina.com, and you know what'll happen? Every single person he sees between now and then will feel badly for him because you guys are bullying him. I'm just saying, like, you've got
not
12
about-
months.
about-
They'll just
It's not
say,
about
here's the
slamming.
report card. Here's the track record.
It's not about slamming Bertina, but here's the other thing too. Is like to me, like watching this whole thing just go down. It's like 4 years is a blip in a city's history. Like when we make a video like this and we're hoping to like change the face of a city, it's not like, okay, you know, this video's gonna go out and in 2 weeks we're gonna get 18,000 hits, and then in 3 weeks the city's gonna be a whole different place. It's
5
like
days, 18,000.
I'm looking at like 10, 15, 20 years down the road. Beyond my like residency in the city, we're looking at 50, 100, 200 years down the road. It's like to whatever we can contribute to push the direction of positive thinking, because the thing about me, when I first moved to Hamilton, is like I found that Hamilton is its own worst enemy. There's like, if I would go and talk to a Hamiltonian about Hamilton, like depending on where you go, like if you go stand at the corner of James and King, they're all like, oh, I can't wait to get the fuck out of here. It's like, but
watch the Tim documentary. We juxtapose the people at the party who are all leaders with the people that we ran into in Gore
I think
Park.
this goes back to, why did 2 transplants make this video? I mean, maybe it's because we have rose-tinted glasses. Maybe we weren't here. We're not jaded.
These are both trannies?
What's that, Rob?
both trannies.
Right. Sure.
But we truly see, like Keenan, the
Yeah.
potential of Hamilton.
As do I.
Where are we going to be in 20 years? We're going to outpace Toronto
So, yeah,
economically
maybe-
and in population growth.
Maybe
Says
Bertini will,
the province of
Bertini
Ontario.
will win this year. And I'm not really overly concerned about that because another 4 years isn't going to ruin the trajectory of Hamilton. I think there's enough of an underground movement that's happening that is, despite whatever is happening in city council, like that'll eventually come around. It has to, because those people are all going to grow old and die, thankfully, and retire. And there'll be people waiting to take their place. People like Matt Green. If Matt Green doesn't win next year, I guarantee he'll win 4 years from now. But I also guarantee he'll win next year because I'm doing his videos.
I want to wrap this video because I want to give Mike some advice here. Because I hear this notbertina.com, and I hear it's not about the percentage. Your video was not about saying to people who are grumpy about Hamilton internally or cynical because they've been here for a while and seen the downturn and aren't sure if it's going to get back. It was about an idea. It was about, here's where we're going, here's where we want to be. And when I hear you say not Bertina, I go, no, that's not going to work for you. It's got to be about the issues.
I'm not saying that I'm going to do that.
know,
I was
but
just throwing that out there.
I'm
That
also
was
saying
just
that
me
in
playing
general to
devil's
everybody
advocate.
listening.
But
If
Scott
you want to...
Thompson tried that with the ABC, anything but council, right? Remember? And it blew up too. Nobody, because
No, I
here's the
don't-
thing.
And by not Bertina, I'm not saying
And
not Bertina from
it-
2014. I'm saying not Bertina. He didn't.
And
He
what-
can't claim
right,
credit for
but-
any
but
of what's
what-
happened in
but
the
what-
last
so
4
here-
years.
So here's what I'm hearing. Joey, you're saying ideas and a higher standard, we can pressure council regardless of who sits there. And Lauren is saying, from his vast experience, and I don't often give this guy props, but if you guys knew how many roles he plays behind the scenes, he knows what he's talking about. And if he is saying, the fact that there's a movement and you can feel it, and there are lots of people are upset with the leadership and blah blah blah, is going to translate into something different in a year. It's pretty lofty thinking, and it's probably too idealistic. So I'm not saying it can't change, Michael. I'm just saying every time I hear somebody say Bertina will not win over my dead body, I say, you know what? Call your funeral home and prearrange, because he's probably going to win, and you need to be
And I
ready
think
for
the
that.
beauty of one, I will put my energy into backing progressive candidates who will move our city forward and
but
who
your
are ambitious.
$750 is not the big money that they get under
the
the door,
maximum they
right?
can get.
Yeah, legally.
I know,
Come
I'm
on,
Anyway,
dude.
no.
That's the point.
But back to what but back to what Christophe said. But back to what Christophe said is the beauty.
I can give him a lot more than $750
Right,
in
but
value.
Lauren is saying they can get lots of money.
Okay.
Yeah, but money doesn't
Granted.
do everything. Trust me.
Let's go back to what Christophe said.
Okay.
The beauty of Hamilton
Right?
is the fact that we are moving forward. We are ambitious in spite of our city council. And the fact that if we have engaged citizens,
Right.
we can change what's being discussed around the table.
And I agree with that.
It's
And
not
And
gonna happen in
I'm sure we'll hear about
363
this
days,
when it
but-
comes to Yes We Canon. But the beauty is, we've got a lot of career politicians who don't give a shit about what they support. They just care that what they support is what's the winning topic.
they're vote
That-
centric,
that-
as Joey
The
said.
professionals that
So
get reelected.
the beauty is,
Right.
Don't
we may not be able
underestimate
to
that.
change the incumbent,
Right.
but we can change popular perception, and we can change what people believe, and we can move this city forward
I agree.
in spite of who's sitting around the table.
And that's an important
Lauren, you
conclusion
And
to
we
reach.
you may have, a track record of, look at this incumbent who's been reelected. Look at this incumbent who's been reelected.
I don't
Let's look at
just
the
get
last 4
incumbents
years.
reelected.
Let's look at the last 4 years, and let's look at how the city's moved forward,
Matt Green
and where
absolutely could.
that has come from,
Matt
and the momentum
Green
has come
could
from grassroots,
absolutely be.
citizen-based organization,
Absolutely
and
not.
not been pushed forward
Absolutely
by.
not. Matt Green could absolutely be the new Ward 3 councillor.
Yeah.
If you consider the following. This is what you need to win an election. Money,
Yeah.
a ground force, and expertise. But at the end of the day, you can buy expertise and you can buy a ground force. So your $750, make sure you find several hundred more people like yourself. Then we can talk about Matt Green.
Okay, and I mean, it takes what, $20,000 to $30,000 to win.
Okay.
Correct?
Yep.
$750. You don't need that many people pledging $750 to reach that
But
amount.
if the other guy has 15 people getting him 10 grand each.
But again, we can look at their spending habits. You need $20,000 to win. How much did Matt Jelly raise? 11, 12 and change?
Correct.
And he didn't win.
Correct.
By 400 votes.
Right. So
If he had
raised-
20,000,
he could have won.
he could have won.
Absolutely.
20,000 is not hard to reach if you've got a couple 25-year-olds
Talk to
Talk to
pledging
Matt Jelly
750.
about how easy it is to raise 20 grand.
But
Then.
can I also say
I'm
that
saying
Matt's-
2014
but Matt's
Hamilton
pretty-
is a
no,
different place
but
than 2010.
I'll only say this once, so let me
Michael,
say this.
and I'm
Go
also
ahead,
going to
Joseph.
put this
Yeah.
in there was no incumbent.
Right.
in Ward
That's
2.
right. It was a
And-
wide open
And
field.
$20,000.
Right.
$20,000.
And if we're looking
to
at
a
Ward
candidate-
3, Ward 3, there may or may not be an incumbent, and the incumbent, most likely, if he is running, isn't a healthy incumbent.
But let me just say that he wasn't healthy last time. But let me just say this, though. Matt Jelly was special. And Matt, I'm only saying this one time. He was special because the first time I met Matt, he wasn't even a student. He was somebody who couldn't afford Poli-Sci University, spent $100 and ran for mayor. And I remember him in his velvet suit and his Elvis sunglasses in these mayor's debates. And he wanted to learn political science as a mayoral candidate. That's a special kind of charisma. Matt is not your average guy. And he got the attention he got, whether it was for cutting his beard or whatever, because he was an exceptional person, and he still is in the city. I think this room is full of exceptional people, but Matt has something special. And so I just don't want to use him as a case in point,
No,
because
of
I think
course.
that he's beyond that.
At the same time, though, that's not to say that Matthew Green isn't something special.
Yeah, he is.
And I think Rock
Yeah.
Hammer may be able to attest to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, because, oh man, don't hit him where it hurts.
Oh, I will hit him anywhere I want, especially on his semi.
Oh, damn. He's going for a... Wow, he just punched you in the balls, dude, and was happy about it.
Swung and missed.
Yeah, did he? Because Rockhammer Lauren has no affiliation with?
We'll go for a cigarette, and I'll explain the swing and the miss to him later.
But the point is with all this is that, yes, Matt did define himself on the anti-casino campaign. And Matt Green has a lot of potential in Ward 3 if Bernie's not in the picture, because Bernie's got that wrapped up. But the point is, well, he's
Oh,
pretty
my
close to having it
dude.
wrapped up, okay? He is the godfather of council by his own council's admission.
Again, because actually, here's the
Yeah,
other
and then reconvene.
here's the other thing about
Have us
municipal
back on.
elections.
Have us back on.
Keenan, did
Have
you
us
open a
back
new
on
bottle of wine? Can I have some of
after
that?
October
Thank
27th.
you.
But here's the other thing about municipal elections:
I will.
low voter turnout,
Hugely
which
low.
creates the opportunity to mobilize voters.
Let's please
And-
look at Bernie Morelli's
And
votes
there's
that
another
he's
thing
lost
that's
over the
changing in
last
Ward
3
3.
elections.
We have the neighborhood development, which part of the neighborhood development is getting people civically connected who previously were not involved. And once you engage somebody
I definitely
civically,
will.
they can vote. And if they can get other voters out.
But the flip side of that, Joseph, is that someone like Bernie Morelli, who has not had anyone of significance running against him for 20 years, has been a dormant candidate for re-election every 3 to 4 years, depending on what era we're talking about.
And he's got a very
But we're not talking about performance. We're talking about re-electability.
Bernie's got a great deal
And
of
if
support.
somebody ran a serious campaign against him, he would squish them like a bug and run a monster campaign because he
Agreed.
can flex
We
that
have
muscle.
I am saying,
that.
I am saying if Matt Green wants to win,
Yeah.
Matt Green cannot get Bernie Morelli votes. Those are voters that love Bernie Morelli. He does great constituent work.
The great
And
thing is half of them have died since the last election.
No,
oh,
but you
come
know what?
on,
I don't think
Michael.
that's
Come
true.
on.
And-
I'm actually going to call you foul on that.
When we all celebrated the election victory of Barack Obama, there was this talk about a new generation of voter, and that was utter horseshit. Grandma elects mayor and council, always has, always will. And just because you two young upstarts are all lathered
Grandpa
about
Lauren.
changing the system, that's 2 of you. You need thousands of you.
And
And
maybe you have.
so the question, but
You're right.
But-
You're absolutely right.
but here's the
no, I totally agree with what you're saying.
Bernie Morelli.
but here's the thing about
More
these
people
two.
voted for not Bernie Morelli than Bernie Morelli in 2010.
But you again,
Let's
you're
just
making,
throw that out there. Let's actually go to the numbers and go to the stats.
know
if
Let's
Mike's
not talk
going
out of our
in a
asses all night.
Mike, you're making the assumption that those voters were voting against Bernie Morelli and not
I'm
for
not
the
making
other
any
candidate.
assumption. I'm just pointing to the numbers.
Okay, now to Lauren, I'm going to say here's the thing about the two that are sitting in front of us. The two in front of us know how to communicate. They know how to create very high impact short communications
Yeah.
that can mobilize people. The challenge is not you guys giving money to the candidates in 2014. The challenge is how do you get more voters who agree with you out to the polls? And the advantage you have is that your voters haven't voted yet. So you have the growth potential that may not be there for candidates who have tried before. And the thing
So
is
I have to
that
say-
focus on ideas, not the half of them died.
So you know what, Joey? I agree with you that the died thing will probably bite you in the ass when this airs, Michael. But I know you meant it in more of the sense of the electorate is changing, but people will take that badly. I should point out, because people can't see this, right? What I'm seeing, I mean, I'm tweeting, because people on Twitter are now engaged in this debate. But, you know, everybody in the room who has had, let's say, more experience than you guys in terms of age and politics, especially, you know, some people in the room who really, really have had a lot of experience, all just walked out. Now, partly because they wanted some air and a smoke, but also partly because there's a level of intensity in this debate, right? And I don't know, this sounds like a non sequitur, but it's kind of important to me. Did you guys see the Russell Brand interview with the
Yeah.
BBC? Okay. So
Yeah,
yeah, it was amazing,
Revolution,
right?
yeah.
So you guys kind of sound Russell Brand-ish with the way that you're positioning the fact that there's a movement afoot that is going to change things, and they better wake up and hear it. And I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, and don't take my sense of caution with this as saying that I don't think there's a fundamental difference. And to Joey's point about social media, hey Joey, Time for Sign campaign and Dialogue Partners, I was part of that. I took the brunt of that stuff. I was called the bully for it. I believe in the power of social media as a tool of democracy. And I've seen the evidence of that. And I know that lots of counselors have talked to me about it, and they want to make sure they understand social media now because they realize it's got potential. So everything that you and Joey are laying out in terms of change and evidence of movement and possibility, I agree with 1,000%. I have also seen the machinations in this community of how incumbents stay elected. I've also seen guys like Lauren who work the system as it is, and their advantage is tremendous. So it's not to say that it can't change or it won't change. It's just to say, listen when these guys tell you this shit, because he's laughing because he knows how every election has gone before. So you say 2014 is not 2010? Thank God. Thank God.
But personally, like,
But
and I have
I like your long
utmost
view.
respect
You should.
for
the guy
Lauren,
needs to be
because
elected.
I totally agree that the fact that he left, I understand his perspective on it. But like that's why I haven't even said anything, because I'm not one to start laughing before anything's happened. You know, in a year from now, we'll come back, and then either he can laugh at me because Matt lost, or, you know, we can all have a good laugh because Matt won, and it's better for the city.
So Lauren and Matt are good friends.
Yeah,
And I think on some level, Lauren would love to see Matt win. But Lauren is a
He's a
realist,
realist,
who
yeah.
also actually works in the back rooms and gets people elected, and not just incumbents, okay? So all I'm saying is that when a guy like Lauren is saying, yeah, but you should know the reality on the ground, he's not saying it to discourage you. He's saying it to say, you know what, like, we
he
hear this.
definitely sparked a fire.
He did, but
For
he
sure.
knows what he's talking about. And so
Yeah,
when he
no
says
doubt.
to you, you've got to get this many people, you've got to get people at the door. These are all the things that make a potential successful campaign. He's not saying it to discourage you. He's saying it to say, we're going to get, as he said, the same asshole incumbents back unless you guys can mobilize more than ideas. That's all he's saying, right?
Yeah, no, I understand his position.
And the fact that he went from this
100%.
microphone to that microphone and he was yelling.
Might as well make it a lively debate.
No,
Yeah.
and you did, but I think you're tapping into something that most of the people listening to this are going to identify with, right?
Well, and you know, there is a frustration in Hamilton. And I think, you know, our video, going back to
Yeah.
the ambitious city, which is what we started talking
Yeah, you
about,
caught the attention
is
of that
that,
group.
you know, frustration can be very motivating.
Yes.
And I think we're going to see that in 2014.
So what he
And when we
said-
come back to a tipping point, right?
Right.
I don't know if it's a
That's
tipping
not-
point. I don't know if it's a tipping point or a boiling point
Right.
in the blood and the minds of people that live in Ward 3,
Right.
in the rest of the city.
Right.
2014 is not 2010 Hamilton.
Right.
They've had 4 more years to stew over the same old shit. And I will give Lauren all the credit. We've had the same old shit for decades,
Yeah.
and the same old shit has been elected.
So you guys are in a position of power now because of your video.
Hardly.
No, you are.
Not
Or
because
you.
of the video, but yeah.
But the video is a part of it, right? And you get power for lots of different reasons. Your connections, your business success. If you have a point in time where you make a ripple in the water, it gives you some power. I have power. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying it in a lighthearted way. You have some power now. You're sitting here. Lauren's a powerful guy. Keenan's a powerful guy. There's lots of powerful people in this room, myself included. So you're in a circle of power. You've got a broadcast medium here that's listening to your ideas. We're not talking about the deconstruction of your video production. We're talking about your ideas, which means you're an influencer, right? So
That's what we wanted to achieve all along with the video.
But you did with Dialogue Partners as well, with your hashtag, made you an influencer, right? So you got power, you got influence. And your ideas are very strong about what Hamilton's potential is and what the 2014 election could look like. We're 12 months out. And what everyone in the room, I think, is conveying to you, whether it's Joey's go from ideas or Lauren's saying get your volunteers at the door, is being passionate isn't going to change it. There has to be some sort of tactical awareness, and that's all Lauren is saying. Just be aware of the tactics at play that are holding the city back. And if you want to challenge those, challenge them on a tactic basis, or like Joey says, accept that the tactics are going to get incumbency back, and then challenge them on the idea pressure front. But that's all both of them are saying, is that you have influence now, right?
The thing that they don't realize is they're just talking to voters, right? Well, if you think this is how informed and frustrated a voter is, just think about the core that are behind progressive candidates that are going to be running.
Yeah.
We're voters.
You are.
I'm a voter
Right.
who's going to put $750 down.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to donate my time.
Right. Which is great. But as long as you're
We're
aware that
voters.
as long as you're aware that there are people who have a lot of more voters in their hands and have a lot more money in their
100%.
pockets.
But
right?
and I mean, like, Lauren, without saying it, he sort of gives you the look with his eyes that it's like this secret thing that nobody knows about that goes on.
of.
But everybody knows it is. And the thing about being able to pull the rug out from somebody is to know something that when he looks at me, I'm like, yeah, I know that it's
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all he was trying to convey. And I'm sure
Yeah.
he'll come back. Probably not before we end this, but the point is
I need to
that
smoke too.
you brought up a really important conversation, which is something that goes with the success and momentum of the city. And your video wouldn't have worked 5 years ago because people didn't feel that powerful. They felt proud, but they didn't feel like there was like a breakthrough of that pride. And your timing is right. The tone was right. It was awesome. It really was. So kudos to you guys for that. And now that you're part of the thought leader community in the city, not just because of the video, but the video is, it may be a tipping point for you guys in some ways. And I'll invite you to the next documentary installment because I want you guys on it. But the point is
Maybe
that,
we'll film it.
yeah, no, I got that covered. But thanks though. But you know what? The thing is that you guys, you have the power to get people behind you. And that's what leadership is, right? You're not a leader by title. You're a leader by people following you. So now that people are following you because of this video and everything else, you just take that to heart and realize there's a responsibility with it. It's a mantle that you have to wear as a leader, right? And it's a great thing, but it's also a pretty heavy thing. And so, the reason why you got the engagement of Lauren and the engagement of Joey and the engagement of the audience was because they see you as leaders of the city now. And that's exciting. So, the passion's awesome. Just be aware that there's those other forces, and however you deal with it is cool. I just want you guys to know where I'm coming from, because this is my show, and I'm coming from a point of view of, I agree with 90% of what you're saying, other than I'm glad they're all dying. No, of course I went. And they just walked out for a smoke and a drink, and so Lauren could vent steam, because really, you don't want him any more passionate than that in close proximity.
I'm glad we got him to that
Yeah, I know.
point.
I think you got him to a full, not a semi. Let's just put it that way. You achieved your goal. You achieved your goal. So thank you for being in the Lair cast.
Well, thank you.
And
thanks for having us.
promise
And
you.
thank you for the advice too.
Well, all I'm saying is, I'm not from Hamilton, and I didn't think I'd be in politics, but I've had a political show in this town for 20 years. And what I've seen is that guys like Lauren aren't dicking around. There's a reason why it is the way it is, and he knows the key to that. So if he's willing to give you some insight into that, take it. You don't have to like where he's coming from, but he knows
the
it.
reason why we're creatives and we're not politicians either. So,
Right.
you're talking to two
Right.
creatives here.
Right, and he's a guy who...
We have no political
Right.
aspirations.
And he can map out the city and who will vote and at what time of the day and why more than anyone I've ever met.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that's where he's coming from, but he can speak for himself.
So we just need to get him to back our horse.
That would be a very strategic move. Yes, it would indeed. That's why you have to figure out who's paying him for the 2014 election tonight. Go have a smoke with Lauren out on the balcony. Thanks for being in the Laircast, guys.
Thanks
You
for having
rock,
me,
and
Lauren.
I
Really
promise I will have you back after the election, and I will have this on tape. All right,
All right,
thank
perfect,
you.
thank you.
Good job, guys. Woo! For the 2 people in the room. Yeah.
Chats in the Lair is a Power Group production. Visit us at powergroup.ca or laircast.com, or check us out on Facebook follow us on Twitter.